Hi everyone, my name's Cory Kobrinski. I'm the chef over at Astoria Café Market in the Gordon Square neighborhood, Detroit Shoreway neighborhood. And today I wanted to welcome you guys into the restaurant. We're going to do some cooking, some cooking hacks. We're going to prepare you a nice gazpacho, something for the summertime heat, something to relax you, something to refresh you. And I'm going to kind of go over some history and some reasons why there's certain vegetables you use. Gazpacho is kind of, I'd say, a bread and olive oil soup. I think the history comes, it's from the Moors or Romans. No one really knows kind of the history and origins of it. But it was always a bread and olive oil soup before vegetables were even introduced, before tomatoes were even introduced to Spain. So I would say, early 1100s, 1200s, they started introducing tomatoes and stuff and vegetables to the soup, which just gives it flavor, gives it some regional qualities and stuff like that. So basically, what we're going to do here today, chop up some wonderful pita. Now you can use any sort of bread, crusty, stale bread. This is a really good use for just bread you have laying around the house that's already 3-4 days old that you never got around to using. So that's always something that's going to add some creaminess to your gazpacho, something that's going to be something to bind it together, keep keep the water content from making it too soupy. So what we're going to do, chop up some tomatoes. And the funny thing with gazpacho, the best gazpacho is going to be getting vegetables you use out of the garden, and visiting farmers markets in your area. There's really no replacement for a nice homegrown vegetable. And getting a little more into that, I would say decades ago, farmers and marketers, retailers, they really noticed that people are drawn to certain types of tomatoes. They look for two things. They look for bright ruby red tomatoes, and tomatoes that are very round in shape. Well, what happens with that, when farmers start producing just a specific tomato like that, it ends up being a very bland tomato, a very flavorless tomato. So you really want to look into going to farmers markets and really doing stuff in your backyard, even if it's just growing something as simple as tomatoes or squashes or something like that. So that's what is really gonna add flavor to your soup. So we have some beautiful heirlooms from the area. And we're looking to just do rough chops. You're not looking to be very intricate chiffonade, doing gruma peppers and stuff like that. We're looking for rough chopped vegetables and stuff like that. Well, there's a million different types of gazpacho. It's not just strictly tomato based. You can get anything into like a white gazpacho where you're using almonds and grapes with olive oil in it. That's a very common one. It's delicious. Again, very refreshing, especially in summertime, in the hot times of the summer. And it pairs wonderful with white wines and rosés. So another excuse to crack a bottle in the heat. So once we have our vegetables chopped, we're going to build up with it. We're going to build up our gazpacho. And now we're going to start by doing layers so that we can kind of compact the flavor and go from there. So we're going to start with our bread. I like to use pita, again, just to get that really nice creamy texture once we blend everything in. So we're going to do a layer of the pita. Then we're going to go take about half the tomatoes, throw that on, and then we're going to do one of the best things that is needed for a good gazpacho, and that's salting. This is probably the most important part about building a gazpacho, is adding salt. Now what this is going to do, this is going to take a good gazpacho and turn it into a great gazpacho. Because what this salt is doing is basically attacking the cell walls in each of these vegetables and breaking them down, tearing them down. And what that's doing is releasing the vegetable's natural flavors, natural juices. And basically all that's just going to sit, and once we blend it up, it's just going to become a more flavorful soup. So that's very key feature in doing a gazpacho is making sure that we are heavily salting everything. So what I'm doing is just taking layers of pita, tomatoes, salting the tomatoes, adding the rest of our vegetables that we're going to do: cucumbers, red onion, peppers, a little garlic, a little fresh oregano, and we're going to salt again. And then I threw another layer of tomatoes on top, and then again, salt. Once you think you've thrown enough salt in there, add more salt, because this is what's going to make this a perfect recipe. And then I like mine just a little kick, just a balanced flavor. We're using a little Espelette pepper or cayenne pepper. From there, we are going to get our olive oil in. A little sherry vinegar for acidity. And then what we're going to do is just let this sit. And we're going to toss this in the freezer for about a half an hour. And what this freezing process is going to do is almost do the same thing the salting procedures do. It's going to expedite the process of breaking down those outer cell walls so that each one of these vegetables will release just their flavor potential. And this is the key ingredient in how to make a more flavorful soup. It really is. I recommend doing it side by side at home. You know, do a batch where you're just putting the vegetables in a bowl, mixing everything together with the bread and olive oil and some sort of acidity or lemon juice, or what I like to use is a sherry vinegar. So do a batch like that, and then do a batch where you're salting every layer, where you're putting it into the freezer to help the process of breaking down the vegetable. And you know, blend those up side by side, and you will really see just a significant difference in flavor. And this is a small little trick that you can do, again, to take something that's good and just elevate it to the greatness of it. So after we put it in the freezer, voila, it could sit in there maybe 20-30 minutes. You're going to want to let it thaw out a little bit, and then this is the kind of end result. What we're going to do is we want to mix everything together, so that all of the olive oil, the sherry vinegar, and all of those natural flavors that are coming out of these vegetables all get mixed together evenly, and along with the salt. Make sure you're scooping from the bottom so that you get a little bit of that olive oil and acidity in with the mix, the vegetable mix. Just pop this on low until everything starts to blend. Now, this is another kind of little hint that I really like to do that adds a little bit of elegance to the gazpacho. Some people like their gazpachos chunky. Me, I prefer more of like a little silky, smooth gazpacho. So something that easily can be done is just taking your blended mixture, setting a strainer, and just strain it right into the colander. And the best way to just kind of expedite this is you're going to want to take any sort of spoon and just press down. Be patient with it and just let the chunks separate from the watery and thinner substances. And this is something that I recommend doing in the summertime. This is a wonderful, once that tomato season starts, end of June, early July, I would say going through September, this is just perfect time of year to attempt gazpacho. I wouldn't recommend anything in the wintertime just for lack of quality. But once we have our soup strained and really silky and smooth, we can just go ahead and take it. Put it in our finishing bowl. And we're just going to do some nice touches. Fresh herbs on top. I just want to thank you guys for stopping in today. I was glad I got to show you a nice little feature we're doing on our summer menu, using a lot of local vegetation from the area. So again, just shop local, shop farmers markets. You'll never find better quality. Enjoy.